Film is a disease, Frank Capra said. When it infects your bloodstream, it takes over as the number one hormone. It plays Iago to your psyche. As with heroin, the antidote to film is more film.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Cellular Heart podcast. And on the show today, we are doing Goodfellas and The Wolf of Wall Street, two great movies, both directed by Martin Scorsese. And the title of the episode today, as you can tell in your car or on your phone or wherever, is Greed is Bad, Goodfellas and The Wolf of Wall Street. So a little bit about my show is it's a podcast where I take two films and I bring them together with one topic or theme, put a little facts about the movie in there as well. And warning, spoilers will be in this episode, so you've been warned. There you go. I did it. I warned you. And today, for those of you waiting for the episode, and it was a little late, was, it don't matter about that because somebody in 2027 is going to go, I didn't know it was late, I'm just listening to it. Whatever. If I continue past 2027. Anyway, what happened today was I went to the dentist and I said, I'll just get this cleaning, go home, do my little monologue thing, put out the podcast, no problem. And I go there and they said, oh no, you need some fillings. I said, oh man, again, Jesus. So put them in there and they did that, and they give you the shots. So half my face was numb, the right side of my face. And so then I get home, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to do the podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I can barely, talk. I couldn't, I went to kiss my wife, and my lips were all, ugh. So it was all hilarious. So I said, I'll just do it tonight. Anyway, so now I'm still putting it out on the day. But anyway, that was my little story of what I did. And the other thing, my nose, I sounded congested. This week I was busy, this last week, and I recorded Jason Bromley's Batman episode with him at his house, and we put that up. He put that up. That was a mini episode. And then we recorded this episode, Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street, and then the next morning, then I went home, I watched some movies, and I woke up. I was still awake, whatever. Watched some movies and did a podcast with Joe Merle from International House of Horrors. So then I did that. So I did 3 podcasts in one day, pretty much to me, because I was up the whole time. So it was very interesting, very fun. And so you all can listen to that at Talking Poop Podcast. It's the Batman mini episode. And then you can hear me on Joe Merle's International House of Horrors. It's called Criterion Horror, and that was fun. So now let's get to some corrections from the last show, which is more of a name that I couldn't think of on the last one that I was talking about when I was talking about the killers. And it was Sterling Hayden was the guy in it that ended up, being in, I said he was in, Dr. Strangelove. So that was somebody. And then on this episode, Jason and I tried to think of the name of the guy from the movie Split. And he says James something, he almost says McAvoy, but he says something else. But it was James McAvoy. So I just want to make sure to get that right for anybody who's going, they fucked up. They said, yeah, that's right, and that was wrong. So I'm telling you now. That's all the 30 people that listen to my show, that's how they talk. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, if there's anything else I missed, please let me know or send me some recommendations of some movies you want me to talk about. I've got some great ideas on my own. Got some real good ones that are going to be coming out. And waiting for my cousin to be freed up so we can do the gamer episode, which will be The Last Starfighter and Ready Player One. So that'll be awesome. So I can't wait for that one. But I'm not sure when that one's going to be coming out. And you can send any of those questions or comments to me at mycellularheart@gmail.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page, My Cellular Heart Podcast. Or you could reach me on Twitter under Phil the Movie Man, or at 4, the number 4, the love of film. So other than that, that's how you get a hold of me. And on iTunes, you want to rate and review me, that's great. Please do. And thank you. Okay, now the newest movies that I watch at home or in the theater are Game Night, because my wife, bought it. She was like, hey, it's cheap. I'm going to buy it. I said, all right. Came out in 2018. It's funny. It's one of those that you could keep watching. It's actually funny, not just like showing all the funny stuff in the trailer. The Devil's Rejects, I watched in 2005. From 2005. I watched it back then, but 2005. And it was because we were getting ready for the next film that I went out and saw, which was 3 from Hell from 2019. So 3 from Hell was interesting. Me and Sean were talking about it. He's the one that I went with to go see it. And if you've heard the old episode, Sean's been on here. He hasn't been on. Yeah, he's been on. Anyway, whatever. So 3 from Hell he's my friend since 1994, and we went and saw that, and I was like, well, what did you think? And he was like, it's kind of like, was just like Devil's Rejects, like they had where they held somebody hostage, they, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, it was kind of laid out, but it's almost like Star Wars and, The Force Awakens. It's like you just give them what they want. You kind of replay what the first one was, and it works. So it was still fun, and it was still cool. And, of course, I'll buy it to go with, because I bought House of a Thousand Corpses. I have Devil's Rejects. So, but unfortunately, I couldn't watch House of a Thousand Corpses before I went and saw 3 from Hell. Not that it mattered, but I had ordered it, but it wasn't in yet. So now it's in. So now I'll watch it probably tonight after I record this. Anyway, I watched a movie called Ladies of Leisure. It's a Barbara Stanwyck film from 1930. It's pretty interesting. It was, these ladies that used to just go out clubbing and stuff, and they'd meet these guys, and they'd try to find a boyfriend for them to kind of make their life better, and they would like share an apartment where they both lived, and they would just be out all night partying, and, I'm not sure if L.A. is like that anymore. This was like New York, but I don't know if the world is still like that, but it seems like it would be. If you're a struggling actress or whatever, you might be doing something like that. Then I saw Rolling Thunder from 1977, which I talked about on my Quentin Tarantino episode. And I said, hey, I want to watch that again. And I watched it again, and it's really good. And it was really this PTSD, I talked about on my Rambo episode with First Blood is really good with the PTSD. This Rolling Thunder from 1977, that was before they really knew PTSD. But he wanted to be like tortured like he was in when he was held by the Viet Cong. So it was really interesting. But it's really good. That was on either Tubi or one of my things that I have that's like, it's like my favorite films or something. It's a channel on Roku. Anyway. Black Cat from 1934 I saw, and that was great. Me and Joe Merle talk a lot about it on International House of Horrors on that Criterion Horror episode, and it was really good. It had Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, and it was really cool, and it was they're just creeps and weird and very cool. And then, of course, I saw Goodfellas from 1990, which is such a great fucking film. It's one of those, when you watch it, we talk about it on this episode, but when you watch it, you go, oh my God, why don't I watch this more? But it's also because when it came out, you watched it a lot. If you're anybody who likes, something like that, you've probably seen Goodfellas a hell of a lot of times. And then I saw Wolf of Wall Street from 2013. And that's one that every time I watch it, I go, I should watch this more than I do. I've seen it so far maybe 5 times. And it's like, I should really watch. It's great. It's good all the way through. It's just like Goodfellas. It's got this, it's the rise and fall of a person, and the downfall of, greed and what greed does to people, and it's just crazy. And then I saw The Hour of the Wolf from 1968 with Max von Sydow, however you want to say his name, because we did that on the Criterion on the Criterion Horror episode. And it was really good. It was an Ingmar Bergman film, so it was a little, heady, but it was really cool. Had some good visuals, some really cool stuff. And again, Joe Merle and I talk about that on International House of Horrors, as well as The Lure from 2015, which was a musical horror comedy with mermaids, and is really like different and cool, but it wasn't as cool as I wanted it to be, but still it was really interesting. And it's a Polish film. And again, International House of Horrors, we talk about it. Then I went to Walmart, and I've been wanting to get The Predator, and I've been wanting to find it. And Jason Bromley, I know you're texting me right now as soon as you heard me say that. And that I wanted to buy it, and it's been $20. And I'm like, do I need to pay $20 for it? Let's wait till it goes down. And I'm at Walmart, and I find it for $10. And it's got a digital copy and the DVD, and I'm like, shit, I'm going to buy it. So I bought it. And I like that movie. That end part, maybe not as much, the very end. And there's a little bit of stuff that's like, but it's a good film. I like it. It's fun. Then I got these Fatty Arbuckle movies. I might have talked about. Fatty Arbuckle's a guy who started making movies in like 1914. Then he had this scandal go on in about the early 20s, and that ended his career because they said that he killed a woman, that he raped her, and then she ended up dying from her injuries, which a lot of people say that wasn't true, but the way the media was then, they just jumped on Fatty Arbuckle did it, and so he ended up dying, like becoming an alcoholic, and Buster Keaton would try to put him in some films, but other than that, he ended up dying, a alcoholic. But so a friend of mine, I said, I don't know much about Fatty Arbuckle. He goes, I got all his films. I love him. So he gave me all those digitally on a hard drive. So I'm trying to watch those. I'm not as big into him, but it's 1914. So the comedy's just like, a guy falls or he can't put on his pants right or something, and that's funny. So you got to put yourself in that 1914 mind, but it's just like, oh, come on. Then that same guy gave me The Man Who Would Be King from 1975. Now, I'd heard a lot of people say, oh, you got to see The Man Who Would Be King. It's so cool. You really need to see it. And I'm like, I don't know. It's, I'm not big into the period pieces sometimes, those kind of movies. And so I'm like, all right. But, you got Sean Connery. You got Michael Caine. Like, it's awesome. Okay, I'm going to watch it. So the other night I'm watching a ballroom or something, and I'm doing my work, but then I got some time to watch a movie, so I put that on in the background, and I'm watching it, and it took me 3 days, because then I had to go do other things, but it was really good. It was really cool and really different, and it's about the Masons and kind of cool like that, so very interesting. Then this morning, saw Deadpool 2. Which I bought. I told the wife, I say, I haven't bought it yet. We need to get this. And I said, it's reasonable price, whatever. She surprised me with it, bought it for me. So that was cool. So I watched that. And then True Stories on the Criterion Channel. I'm sorry if I'm boring everybody, but please check most of these movies out. They're all good. That Ladies of Leisure was, it's not as good. Joe Merle's the only one who might watch it. It's not as good as probably the ones later that go. So if you're going through all of Barbara Stanwyck, maybe save that for the last. Anyway, the way I do those, I go from oldest to the latest, from 30s up to 34. Anyway, True Stories is from 1986, directed by David Byrne from the Talking Heads. And it is a weird little film, but really cool. It's like a Coen Brothers film, but also mixed with like almost like a, gosh, I don't know, like the guy that did, now I can't even think of the name, Gummo, like, but not weird, not like gross weird like Gummo was, but just this weird thing. And what it is he's taken real actors and put them in this town and had them act like they live there. And what he did was he took all the things like the National Enquirer would say, woman takes a nap and ends up staying in bed like for 20 years. And she's just lazy. And she has a machine that turns the pages for her. She has a machine that feeds her. And she just watches TV and everything. So it's really cool in that way, where he took all these things. Another one was a guy seeking a wife. So John Goodman plays the guy that's going on all these dates, and he wants somebody to, marry him and wants to find a wife. And just all these little weird things. It's really cool, really interesting. It's only like an hour and a half. It's on Criterion Channel. I don't know where else you can find it. Probably I saw it on Google or something when I typed on iTunes. So it's on Amazon Prime for like $2.99 to rent. But it's really cool. It's really interesting. So if you like kind of those weird, independent kind of films, it's really cool. And that's the only film that David Byrne ever directed. He did a lot of his music videos, but other than that, it's the only one he did. So it's pretty neat. Almost reminded me, the one I was also thinking, kind of Brazil with like the weirdness of it. But the characters are like so real, such good acting in it. Oh, it's really good. And it seems more natural. Oh, and then another couple that the husband and wife haven't said a word. They've been married. They have a happy marriage, been married for, 20 years, but they don't talk to each other because they tell the son, ask your mom how her day went. Oh, Mom, how'd the day go? It went great. Hey, ask your dad if he wants more potatoes. Dad, you want more, stuff like that. So it's really cool. Anyway, check those out. But now I found some facts out about Goodfellas after we recorded the show. I was watching a documentary on Henry Hill, and one of the facts is that one of the couples that was part of or knew about the Lufthansa robbery, the wife's torso washed up on the beach a couple of weeks later. And that's a thing where it's like, oh my gosh, like that's how bad they were. Like it showed, Goodfellas, of course. The thing we talk about on the film, Scorsese, is he doesn't really glorify the mob. It's a half and half. You're kind of going, wow, that's cool. But then when it goes bad, you understand, like, oh yeah, of course it went bad. So yeah, they're just bad people. And also the real life Paulie, Paulie in Goodfellas, like he's a nice guy. He's got that mean look on his face at the barbecue, but he's a pretty nice guy. But the real life Paulie was also a real piece of shit. And one day walked into a bar while Henry waited in the car and started beating a barmaid with a bat. And he broke her collarbone and messed her up pretty good, all because she told someone that Paulie was cheating on his wife or something. So Henry's like, I was sitting in the car, and he goes in there with a bat, and he thinks probably he's going to beat up some dudes, and all of a sudden he starts whacking on the barmaid. And it's like, holy shit. And, nobody says shit. And it's like, he goes, he was really, really bad. So anyway, that's everything I've been watching. That's a couple extra facts for you guys. So without further ado, let's get to Greed is Bad, Goodfellas from 1990, and The Wolf of Wall Street from 2013. I hope you enjoy. So I'm here with Jason Bromley from Talking Poop. Take two, because my thing ran out of storage. But luckily we weren't all the way done and like finish and then like fuck you. So Jason Bromley, he's from Talking Poop. What's that all about? Your podcast, even though you've been on already. But now we're doing some good films and not just Fred Ward.
It's true. We came on to do some award-winning films instead of some trash, and I am here to join you to do that today. I'm Jason Bromley from Talking Poop, the Talking Poop podcast.
Yeah. We're at a live event at the ASU Stadium, the little one over there with all the stands. Well, thank you. And it's not just Talking Poop, his show. They don't just talk about shitting, although a couple of the episodes they did. But no, it's about talking shit about everything. The movies and media and music that make us, or the movies that make us, I guess, is all it is. No. And we just did a Batman episode, so check that out, everyone.
Happy birthday, Batman. 80 years old.
That's right. Yes. Yay! And today we're doing, like Greed. You said just call it Greed is Good. I was calling it The Downfall of Greed. But it's Goodfellas, and as you see on the title, Goodfellas and the Wolf of Wall Street. And a long time ago, I told my friend when Wolf of Wall Street came out in 2013, I said, you guys got to see this. It's so fucking great. So awesome. And then my friend Sergio and Yvette, they went and they rented it and they watched it, started to watch it, and turned it off after like 10 minutes. They said, this sucks. It's horrible. they said, this guy's an asshole and a prick, and why would I watch a whole movie about this guy? I said, why did you watch a whole movie about Henry Hill? He's a mobster. Like, and they go, no, this guy is like a piece of shit. I go, Henry Hill was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And they were like, no. And then a little bit after that, my friend Rachel was like, you know, I'm thinking of watching a new movie. What should I watch? And I said, watch Wolf of Wall Street. She goes, okay. She goes, I started watching it. It's horrible. She goes, I turned it off. And I go, what do you get? Like, no, it's so good. So great. It's one of those where I watched it last night and I was like, it's good where you could watch it a lot more than you do.
Yeah.
Because it's all the way good.
Yeah, this is only the second time I've seen it for this podcast, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, I should be watching this, like, every week. This is such a great movie.
Yeah.
It's so well acted, so well directed.
Well, and even Goodfellas, I'm sure there's people out there who is like, I've seen Goodfellas. I get it. But, excuse me, I had a burp. But it's the thing of, you watch it again and you go, why don't I watch this more?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I bought Goodfellas on Blu-ray, and I think I watched the making of stuff on there, and then I never watched the movie. And then later, I remember finding, like, oh, they put out a second Blu-ray that's, like, better than that one, like, better visuals, video. And I was like, oh, my God, maybe I should re-get it. But then, like, it just sits on your shelf. That's the thing about movie collections. You buy it and put it on your shelf. So I was like, no, I need to get it. So I still have the old one, but when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And what gave me this idea was I listened to those Ladies' Guide to Dude Cinema, and they really liked Goodfellas. I thought, they kind of picked on it. It was funny because they're feminists, and they talk about, like, there's a certain thing where it's like, does this have a woman in it, or is it because this guy went on his tour of rampage because his sister or his wife was killed? Or so they were like, this one's weird because they hate it because Henry Hill, like, beats up his wife, but then they love it because it is still sexy to them. Even, like, they get Lorraine Bracco when she's just like, frazzled by, like, wakes him up with the gun in his face, and then they're like he pistol whips that guy for assaulting her, and so you're kind of like, that shouldn't be that way, but you're also like, way to go, like, that guy should get some, like, so the girls are like, you want, like, that guy stuck up for me, but still, it's very violent. But anyway, the movie Goodfellas from 1990, here's the plot, is the story of Henry Hill and his life in the mob, covering his relationship with his wife Karen Hill and his mob partners Jimmy Conway and Tommy DeVito in the Italian-American crime syndicate. Stars Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway, Ray Liotta as Henry Hill, Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito, and a whole bunch of other people that I'm not going to go into. And it was written by I read the book by Nicholas Pileggi, and then Martin Scorsese called Nicholas Pileggi and was like, hey, I want to do your book, but I don't have anybody making an offer yet, but I want to do it. And Nicholas Pileggi's like, don't worry about it. So he calls his manager, and his manager's like, well, wait a minute, like, other people want this. And he's like, yeah, but I think it'd be perfect for Martin Scorsese, like, it's Mean Streets type stuff. So he's like, okay. So they end up getting together and writing the script, and he goes, it was great writing the script because Martin Scorsese would write a song in there, like, here's what song should play on this scene, and here's what this. And they were talking to Thelma Shoemaker, who edits it, and she was saying that there's a scene on the behind the scenes where they're together in the editing bay, and she's like, he remembers where he heard every song that he's ever heard. Like, I was in the bakery with my mom looking out the window, and this song came on, and I remember that, and it was like, wow, okay. But it's directed by Martin Scorsese, so there. I see I'm boring you. You fell asleep.
I am not falling asleep.
I know.
I love the great Martin Scorsese. There are people in this world that are filmmakers, and then there are auteurs of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And Martin Scorsese, everything that he's done is above and beyond what other filmmakers are making.
Yeah.
He sees the world in a different way, and he's able to capture it on film. And even more than that, he's able to pull the best performance out of whatever actor he's using.
Yeah. Well, and then what they were saying on Goodfellas, which they also did on Wolf of Wall Street, and they've probably done in other movies, Raging Bull was one that you hated. Raging Bull was one where they kind of do improv, But it's like they do the line read together, like rehearsing. And then they might add some stuff in there, and then they'll go, yeah, that's good. Keep that part, but take that other part out. Riff on this, riff on that. And they do that, and that's what makes it so, like, Goodfellas. You're just like, oh, my God, that one guy, he keeps going, like, no, the car was a wedding present. Like, it was a wedding present from, you know, when they come to the bar after the Lufthansa heist, and he's like, what the fuck are you driving this Cadillac for? Like, I told you, don't spend any money. And he's like, no, her father bought it for us. It's a wedding gift. He's like, I told you, no. Are you fucking stupid? He's like, but it was a wedding. He keeps saying it like 4 times. And I'm going, poor guy, like, he didn't buy it. Like, but Jimmy's like, what the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. Go take that car away. He's like, take it back. He's like, but anyway.
What I love is that Scorsese finds a way to make you uncomfortable watching the movie. Like, in that scene, I felt like I did something wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, same thing with the funny house scene was like, that was something that was something that Joe Pesci ran into, like, earlier in his life, where somebody treated him like that, and he mentioned it, and Scorsese's like, yeah, let's do that and make everybody. So they knew what was going to happen, but then they bring the other actors in who don't know, and you watch all their faces, and they're all like, holy shit, like, they're getting serious, like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then it's that thing of Henry, they said they had a hard time editing, because how much do you wait before Henry, like, starts laughing?
Yeah.
And it's that tense moment where you're like, what the, like, Tommy's a fucking, off the rails, and all of a sudden it's just like, he's like, fucking Tommy, you got me. But the opening scene is great with the, they're just driving in the car and you hear this thumping and you're like, what's going on? And they open it, there's a bloody guy, and you're like, what? And one's got a knife, one's got a gun. They're like, holy shit.
Yeah, talking about an amazing cold open.
Yeah.
It's like, it just starts off, and that scene is so violent. The way they're, like, Joe Pesci stabbing him and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just like, holy fuck, man. And then it switches.
Yeah. Well, and then something that I found out later, and I'll get to later, but that guy who plays Billy Batts, he's been in other Scorsese films, and they always, him and Pesci always either fight. Like, in Casino, he's the one that kills Pesci. He's the one that, Pesci kills him in Goodfellas. And in Raging Bull, I think Pesci does something to him, or whatever it was. And it's just funny. And then they go way back. But, yeah, it's just to set everything up, and you're like, what am I in for? And then it goes to, like, when he's younger. And then when it get, like, that long Steadicam shot, like you did an episode on Swingers. And, like, it's that shot through the kitchen.
Yeah.
And that took, like, 8 takes. They did that 8 different times to get it, like they said, just right where the guy with the table comes in at a certain time, like, and just everything works out, and so good. And
it's masterful.
And you're showing, and he's showing you how, like he said, like how she feels going in there. You feel the same way, like, oh, this is a different way to come in.
Right.
This is a different world. He knows all these people. They respect him, like, and that's the other part I like. That opening part when he's still young, and he says, one day my friends carried my mom's groceries all the way home out of respect.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow,
damn,
that's cool.
Yeah. That's what's crazy about this movie and Wolf of Wall Street, is that it made me want to be a mobster.
Yeah.
And then Wolf of Wall Street made me want to be, not necessarily a stockbroker, but I just want to be, like, that rich and that powerful. Yeah. And it's the same thing. Like, there's just something innate in us that, like, wants to be.
Well, and something with a filmmaker. It's just like, Quentin Tarantino may not be as good as Scorsese, but they both have movie knowledge of all kinds of different movies. But with Scorsese, he has the ability to make you like the mob stuff, but then also understand, like, oh, shit's going downhill now when he's on drugs and he's worried about the helicopters. Like, oh, I got it.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't glorify it. It just shows you how it's brutal and it's real. And he did that with Departed too. It was like, showed that guy beating up people, and then the Uncle Frank or whatever, when Jack Nicholson busts his arm to make sure it's broken, and he breaks open the cast, and you're like, holy shit, this guy's fucking serious. Like, don't fuck with this guy. And then when she comes to Henry and she's like, "Oh my God, this guy just, he touched me and I told him no," and he's like, "Whoa!" and he fucking drives right over there and just pistol whips a guy, and it's all one shot. And he walks over there and he pistol whips a guy, and the guy's just like, "Oh."
That scene too, you can't watch that without going, "Fuck."
Yeah. It's done so well, and it's just like this is the guy. This guy is just brutal. Like he'll just do that, and then later on. So I wrote my notes down, but later on, then Billy Batts gets out of prison, and we start with Billy Batts, getting stabbed in the trunk. But Billy Batts gets out of prison, and he's fucking with Tommy about go get your shine box, and Tommy's like, "I don't do shines anymore. Maybe you've been gone a while, but I don't do that anymore."
That scene again, so freaking much tension. Yeah. You're like, why are you saying this to him?
Well, especially when he's like, Tommy even says like, "I might have overreacted. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I took it wrong. It just sounded." And then Billy Batts goes, "This guy's fucking," and Jimmy goes, "No, you went a little too rough. Like, but okay, we're good." And he goes, "No, but I'm just saying." He goes, "I disagree, but I'm just telling you." And then Billy goes, "Okay." And Billy takes that drink of his whiskey, and then he goes, "Now go get your fucking shine box." And you're like, and Tommy's like, "Motherfucker." And then he goes, keep him here. And you're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And then the night goes by smooth, and then all of a sudden Tommy comes back, and I was thinking this time watching, like, Tommy was sitting on that all night, like that fucking guy, like it's just building in him, like he's so pissed.
Yeah.
And then he just goes in there and fucking starts beating him up, and they're kicking him, and De Niro's giving him the De Niro stomp, and so good. And those two guys, Joe Pesci, what I was getting at with the facts, Joe Pesci and Frank Vincent, is that guy's name?
Mm-hmm.
They started together in the 60s as like a comedy duo.
Really?
Yeah. And then they were in a movie called where Robert De Niro found him, a movie called The Death Collector in 1976, and De Niro saw them both, and then and Martin Scorsese too, and then they got him. But yeah, I found some old, like on YouTube, like some comedy duo and some songs by him.
Right.
Him and Frank, which is
really
weird to see them like singing.
It's so weird just to see Pesci in like Home Alone being all silly, and then compared to Goodfellas.
Well, then that's what you don't realize. That's what I like about the girls that I talk about, the Ladies Guide to Dude Cinema, is that they haven't seen these movies, and they're younger. So the girl's like, I only knew Joe Pesci from Home Alone, and like, maybe I don't even know if she's seen My Cousin Vinny, but funny stuff.
Right.
She goes, I saw this, like, holy shit, this guy's violent and crazy.
Yeah.
And same thing with De Niro. They were like, I'm used to De Niro being goofy in later years now.
Meet the Fockers.
Yeah,
and stuff.
And they're like, that's where I knew him from, and I seen him in this. He did fucking great. And you're like, yeah, if you only knew Pesci and Robert De Niro from those kind of things, you're gonna go, holy shit. But and then after, when they drive to Tommy's mom's house, which is Scorsese's mother,
love that scene.
And that's so, like, she's such a natural, like, she's just like, oh, do you want to eat? And they're just, and then they sit down, and he's like, can I borrow this knife? I got the thing. What is it? The paw. And he goes, the hoof. Yeah, the hoof. I get the hoof stuck in the grill. She goes, oh my god. Just so good.
My buddy that I call Bobby Chicago, his mom is that exact lady. Like, she always, every time we walked in the house, she was trying to feed us and sit us all down and everything. But with Scorsese, I love what he can do. He can make moments that should not be funny hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that dinner scene. Or the scene in Wolf of Wall Street. I know we haven't got to it yet, but
right.
When DiCaprio takes the fucking lemon ludes, and then he's going after the dude who's talking on the phone. That scene should not be funny, but it's hilarious.
And something that I just read before coming here was, I didn't include it in the facts. I know we're not there yet, but on that scene, there's the island in the middle. Yeah. And he said he wanted a house he wanted to take the island out, but they couldn't. That was the house they were filming it.
Right.
So he had to leave the island there. And he's like, I'm kind of glad I did, because it's hilarious. Him trying to get to him is the funniest thing, him trying to get to Donnie.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. And then poor Spider, when you first saw this.
Oh, man, Spider.
You're like, Spider's like, and I remember hearing on Howard Stern, like, Spider's sister called one time, and she was like, and Henry was on, like, on the phone or something, and the sister called and she's like, he killed my fucking son and he buried him. You know, where did you bury him? I want to know. And he's like, I don't know. We buried like a lot of people. Like he's probably under the bar.
Wait. Go back in this story. So they had Howard Stern had the real mobster guy.
Had Henry Hill on. Yeah, because Henry Hill towards the later on in his life, after the movie came out, Henry Hill like opened up about like here's who I am and would go, you know. And so he was on Howard Stern once. They drove him around in a car and was like, and he would point out like, oh yeah, we buried like 5 bodies over there and we buried 2 bodies there, and then had him on. And the sister of Spider calls and she's like, you guys killed him. Like I saw the movie and like we've been looking for him. We just want to put him to rest. Where is he? And he's
crazy.
like, I don't know. I think we buried him. You know, whatever. And he's like, this girl's crazy. And then he's kind of picking on her, and it's like, come on. And but that thing where. It's a thing where showing how crazy Tommy is the whole point of like a lot of that. And so when Jimmy's Robert De Niro, when Jimmy's like, oh, there's a part that makes you even go before Jimmy does it. He goes, go fuck yourself, Tommy. Spider says that. And you're like, holy shit, he just talked to these mobsters. He's just a guy bringing drinks. And then all of a sudden Jimmy pauses for a second and he's getting ready to count out some money and he goes, whoa, holy shit. He goes, you got balls on you, kid. Here, this is for you. And he's giving him money and he's like, don't take shit from anyone. And he goes, you gonna take that, Tommy? And Tommy's like, gets up and just pulls a 40. He doesn't even stand up, just pulls a 45 out and shoots and kills Spider. And at first he's trying to make him dance like that old Bogart movie. But then he kills him, and then Jimmy's like, what the fuck are you doing? I was kidding with you. I don't know if you're kidding, busting my balls. I don't know what you're doing. It's like, oh my God, you cannot do that with this guy. And just, you know that if you were, part of you goes, I could be a mobster, but then part of you goes, I couldn't deal with that. Like, I wouldn't know if I'm joking, this guy takes it wrong and I'm dead.
I'd be a terrible mobster because of that, because I don't know how to fucking quit.
Yeah.
In case the little war with Joe from those movie guys didn't set you off. I don't
exactly.
know. I don't know where the line is very well. So I would have got whacked like on the day one.
Exactly. Yeah, said something wrong. But yeah, that was. And then on there, Joe Pesci was saying that he had him put heavy loads in for the blanks for the gun so that it would like kick and make a loud noise. And he goes, and that deafening sound after. He goes, was like, that's where the moment was. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, for sure.
That's what people don't realize, like, that don't shoot guns. You see, like, in John Wick, you know, they're, like, just going through, like, pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
You'd be deaf as a motherfucker.
Yeah, I did. I shot a shotgun once. Me and my buddy went and got ammo, got, targets and everything. We go out to the desert. We're so thinking about shooting, we forget to put the earplugs in.
Yeah.
Shoot the shotgun the first time. I'm like, oh, shit, we forgot the earplugs. And then we put those in, but shooting a bunch, I'm already worried when I do shoot without earphones, without headphones or whatever, and then I'm like, I'm afraid that I'm going to be deaf forever.
I've done the thing where like I take one off to hear somebody and then I forget to put it back on and then I shoot and I go, oh shit.
I have these they make these now. I have this new one, the one that I have in my bag is you can, it's for 88 decibels or more. It'll cut it off, so I can have it on and I can hear you talking to me. And then when I go to shoot, it'll block out the loud noise.
Oh, very cool.
So
very
it's
high
very
tech.
cool. Yeah. Cost $35. It wasn't. But I'm like, instead of my buddy has the regular ones that you don't turn on, and he's like, hey, how you? I go, dude, like, you don't need to yell. Just get some of these. And here's something that I thought about. If Henry would have never gotten into drugs, we may have never gotten a masterpiece like Goodfellas.
Right.
So if he would have just stuck on the same path, he might have been dead later or whatever.
Well, Scorsese does that a lot too. He shows like how awesome drugs can be. Like, oh, this makes me want to do drugs.
Yeah, like
and then,
all those fast cuts and
but then he also shows like inevitably. I always say this about drugs: like you've never heard anybody be like, you know what, the best day of my life was when I started heroin.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, even
it always goes bad, no matter what.
Even to jump forward a little bit back to Wolf of Wall Street, it's like he's always going, like he's telling people, like, yeah, I'm addicted to drugs. Like that's like it's not like a bad thing to him.
Right.
He's just like, I'm addicted. Like I love it. Like this is what I love to do. It's like holy shit. And Lufthansa is still like half, like it's not even solved yet. Like they still can't find the money. They found a couple of guys here recently that were involved.
Really?
But still, like, all that money is like untraceable, like it's gone. I remember, on a side note, Danny Trejo was not in any of these movies, but Danny Trejo said when he got busted by the cops and went to prison for his last time, that he took money and like buried it in the backyard of his mom's house. And then they got there, where's the money? He's like, I don't know. And then he goes, when I got out, I went to look for it. I forget where I buried it in the yard. Like, I was high on coke and I forget where I put it. And so it was just funny. And then his mom sold the house, so somebody might have found $5,000. And it's so sad. Not to jump through the movie, we can go to other parts, but I only wrote these down. I didn't want a bunch of notes, but it's so sad when Polly says, like, now I have to turn my back on you.
Yeah.
And he's crying, he's teary-eyed, and you're just like, even though you're like, yeah, you're a monster, you're a piece of shit, but you're like, wow, like, you feel it, like, you're like, right. Oh my God, like, so sad. But, but then when you get to see the real Henry Hill, you're just like, this guy seems like a piece of shit. Like, he's
right. That's the thing. Like, yeah, these guys look all funny and everything in the movie, but they're all pieces of shit. They're all horrible, horrible people.
Yeah.
They're all fucking cokeheads, cheating on their wives, fucking
killing people,
and just they have no.
But it's like you said, it's a thing of. It's the funny, and Tarantino does it too, where it'll make you laugh at violence. And he said he got that from Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein that he saw when he was young, and it was like funny. But then there was like throwing a nurse out the window and killing her. Like that woman died, like she did. And it's that thing that Scorsese does. Like he's wanting his money in the beginning when they see Maury at Maury's Wigs, and Maury's like bitching, and he's like, "I'll give you the money later. Like, what do you need it now?" And Jimmy. And Henry's trying to talk to him, and Jimmy just wraps a phone cord around his neck and starts choking him, and his wig is falling off, and they're laughing at it. And you're laughing because it does look funny, but also it's like he wants his fucking money.
Yeah.
And then even later on, when Maury, who set up the Lufthansa thing pretty much, is like, I want my money now. And they're like, just wait. And he can't wait. He keeps asking. And Henry keeps trying to tell him. And then finally Henry pushes that door aside and goes, fine, go ahead and tell him. Tell him then. And he's like, no, okay. And then Jimmy goes, I'm gonna kill him. Like, bring it. Like, does he talk to his wife? He tells his wife everything. And he's like, yeah, I think so. And he goes, right then I knew that Jimmy wanted Maury whacked. That Jimmy was gonna kill Maury. And then Maury, he goes, bring him tonight to the game. And they're playing poker. And he's laughing and everything. And then Jimmy's like, don't worry about it. That thing I told you, forget about it. He's like, okay. And then that night after the game, they're getting in the car. Where are we going to go? We're going to go to somewhere to eat. Oh, okay. And then Joe Pesci just stabs him in the back of the neck, kills him. Like, it's like, that's how quick it is. It's like, holy shit. I'd always be in the back seat. No, get in the back.
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing with when they kill Tommy. You're like, Tommy's going to be made. And he gets to the house, and he walks in, and he's even talking to the guy. He's like, oh, yeah, when were you made? And the guy goes, yeah, it was years ago. It seems like a long time ago. And then all of a sudden, then he walks in, and he sees that it's an empty house. And then he goes, oh, no. And that's all he says. And then the gunshot happens because he knows, like, I'm being whacked. And that was for what he did to Billy Batts because they were all lying about it. So.
Yeah. That's what's crazy, too, is that it seems like total chaos, but they have a code, and they stick to it.
Yeah.
And so there is honor in that system, One of my favorite scenes, and it's so tense, is when Lorraine Bracco goes in to see Tommy, I think it is. And
Jimmy,
yeah. She goes to. He goes, I got some dresses that you're gonna want to see, and they're right over here.
Yeah, he goes, you want to go down there? He goes, just keep going down there.
She's like, down there? He's like, yeah, just keep going.
It's done where you don't know if he was setting her up or if she was gonna actually look at dresses. But when she gets there and sees like two guys who are like in wife beaters, and they're just moving equipment around, it's like, no, this is a shady place. I think I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
But it's the whole movie's good. And then it ends with him. And another thing that kind of goes with Wolf of Wall Street is where it ends with him getting off the stand and talking to the camera.
Yeah.
And Wolf of Wall Street, he does that where it's like, I forget what part, but he starts talking to the camera. Yeah, it's in the beginning where he's talking to the camera, and then in the middle where he's like, here's how an IPO works. And then he's like, you don't need to know. All you need to know is we're fucking making a lot of money.
Right, yeah, they break that fourth wall thing, which is so cool.
It's like really cool. And some facts. I already told you that one. So Scorsese's mom and dad are in the movie.
Oh, really?
The dad was the one. I know you didn't watch it recently, but the dad's the one that's in prison. That they're like, he's making a gravy, and they're like, this has too many onions in it. And he's like, no, it's just fine. And they go, how many cans of soup did you use? He goes, of tomato soup, tomato sauce. He's like, 2. They go, how many onions did you use? He goes, 6. They go, yeah, there's too many onions. And that's his dad.
That whole thing's crazy too. They go to jail and it's like fucking.
Yeah, they're just like all in a room where they have cots right there and they just sleep.
They're just hanging out. They're just living their normal life except for in jail, you know.
Yeah.
And they've got access to all the shit that all the other prisoners don't have.
And it makes sense where, you know, Paulie says later when he gets out of prison, like, I understand you did what you had to do when you were in there, but now I want you to be clean, no shit, no whatever. He's like, no way, man, no. And he slaps him and he goes, you listening to me? And he goes, yeah, I'm listening to you. And then he fucking goes and he's selling fucking drugs he gets Tommy and Jimmy involved, and it's like, holy shit, like you said, like that guy had a code. And that was one where, another behind the scenes thing where Paulie said, Paul Sorvino said, like, to do the part, like, he just went in and kind of read for the part, and he's like, I don't know how to, like, this guy's just a mobster, but I want to make him different. He goes, and then before I'm going out, I stopped by he said, I still didn't know how to do it. I stopped to go out, and I look in the mirror, and I'm checking my teeth for spinach or something. And he goes, and I had this look on my face, and I go, that's the look of Paulie. That's it right there. And that's that look while he's sitting there and he's eating, and they're talking about this is who Paulie is. He doesn't talk to maybe 2 people through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just cool with that, and just cool him being, like, quiet, and even, like, trying to deal with Tommy, like when that guy is having to sit down, like, you got to do something. What am I going to do with him? He's a kid. Like, I don't know what to do. And it's just so good. And Henry Hill was only paid $550,000 for Goodfellas. I mean, that's a lot of money. But he said when he was a mobster, he was breaking in from $15,000 to $40,000 a week.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you were Scorsese, you'd have to be like, we can't fucking short this guy. Like, he'll kill us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing where they said after he got released, he then was caught, like, checking with his old friends and, like, making deals and getting into his criminal activity again. And then shortly after the movie, he got booted out of the witness relocation program. So then he was like, fuck it, I'll talk open. And then if anybody wants to kill him, like, go ahead. I'm in the open now,
right.
So you know somebody did it. But, and I told you Frank Vincent and all that story.
Well, and that's crazy shit, man. They fucking got Whitey Bulger as soon as he went to jail.
Yeah.
They fucking offed that dude.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if
just
I heard
recently.
That. Oh, I don't think I heard that.
Yeah,
really.
Whitey Bulger went to jail and they fucking
I knew that he went to
shanked his
jail,
ass.
but I didn't know that they killed him.
Yeah, they killed him.
I was thinking that he would.
Quick.
Yeah, that's why people go, the mobs aren't still around. Yeah, the mobs
yeah,
are
they
still
are.
around. They're just more quiet now.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise and Madonna almost starred as Henry and Karen Hill.
Really?
At one point, yeah.
I fucking love me some Ray Liotta, dude, because he looks like he's got the tiger in his eyes. Like, he looks like he could just snap and fucking murder somebody for real.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Goddamn love Unlawful Entry.
That was a good movie. My dad thinks it's about anal sex. But, yeah, it's a good movie.
That's an unpleasant entry.
This will be good to do with you. Anybody who hasn't listened to Talking Poop, Jason got fired once from a job for watching Dancer with Wolves, a 3-hour movie while at work. So
why do you got to bring that shit up?
Because it ties in with our fact here.
Okay, all right.
While met with extremely enthusiastic reviews, Goodfellas was overshadowed by Kevin Costner's Dancer with Wolves at 1991 Academy Awards. The film was nominated for 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, but only took the Best Supporting Actor trophy for Joe Pesci's portrayal of Tommy DeVito. Pesci was up against 2 other mobster portrayals, Al Pacino's Big Boy Caprice in Dick Tracy, and Andy Garcia's Vincent Mancini in The Godfather Part 3.
Dang.
So, but you've only seen the first Godfather, right?
Right.
Yeah. So he plays Sonny's son. Anyway. But yeah, Joe Pesci should have won for that. He did fucking great.
Seriously. And fuck Kevin Costner and his goddamn Dancing with Wolves.
But I remember
fucks everybody.
I saw Dancing with Wolves in theater. It was so good. I was like, oh my god. And then that red-haired guy that took his diary, nobody can find it, and so they're like, no, you're an Indian, whatever, we're gonna kill you. And that guy's like wiping his ass with his diary. And then that red-haired guy ends up turning up in Bodyguard. He's like one of the guys that they think is the killer, but he's not. He's just a fan. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. The Fed laying out the ins and outs of the witness protection program with Henry and Karen after they get pinched. That's U.S. Attorney Edward McDonald reenacting a conversation with the real Henry and Karen when they flipped. McDonald volunteered himself for the part after Scorsese scouted his office as a possible filming location and ultimately won it after a screen test. Like so much of the rest of the script, McDonald, "Don't give me the babe in the woods routine, Karen" line was also improv. So, it's just so good. Such a good movie. And now we're on to Wolf of Wall Street. Now we
How come you can say a Wolf of Wall Street, but you can't say Dances with Wolves?
What did I say?
Dances with Wolves. Like 4 times you said it.
Wolves.
Wolves. Brian Gunn does the same thing on my podcast. He can't say wolves.
Dances with Wolves.
Wolves.
Yeah, Dances with Wolves.
That was good.
Dances with Wolves. I think wolves. Yeah.
Wolves.
Yeah, I think wolves.
It's like I can't say your podcast, and you called me out for that earlier too.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. It's at least you say the name so people can go. If they misspell it, it'll correct them. So Wolf of Wall Street from 2013. I'm trying not to get a room echo. Hello, how are you doing? That's right. Hey, my name is Harrison Ford. Wolf of Wall Street, 2013. The plot is based on true story of Jordan Belfort from his rise to a wealthy stockbroker living in the high life to his fall involving crime, corruption, and the federal government. Stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort, Margot Robbie as Naomi LaPaglia, Jonah Hill as Donnie Azoff, John Bernthal as Brad, and several other people. Written by Terrence Winter, from the book by Jordan Belfort, directed by Martin Scorsese. That's what happens when you give me Pepsi. Directed by Martin Scorsese again. And did you know that Henry Zabarski's in this movie?
Yes, and I had heard him say that. This was the first time when I watched it, and it was so distracting to have him in there because, for one, he's really fat in it.
Yeah.
And then,
he's naked having sex with the cheapest hooker that they have.
I kept seeing him doing debaucherous things in the background, and I was like, I wonder what his wife thinks about that.
Oh, it's funny. But this again, just like Goodfellas, has a great opening.
Oh yeah,
it's like him flying the helicopter stuff, but also like throwing the midgets. And then he just stops on the midget. And he's like, "No, that's not me. That's me." And it's him that he just threw the midget.
You're in for a wild ride when 10 minutes into the movie he's sucking cocaine out of a whore's asshole.
Yeah,
with a big pen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I've heard, that's like sniffing cocaine off a whore's butt or off her crack, but out of her actual hole.
Well, and that's where I said I don't know if he's blowing it in there to give her a high, and he's already done his, or if it is sucking it. But either way, it's debaucherous.
She's getting some, he's getting some.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty hardcore for anything that I've seen.
Yeah, they said it was almost NC-17, but they had to cut some stuff down.
When they were like, we had to cut, that's a quick scene. I'm like, how did that not get cut?
Well, and I don't know if you noticed it, and I don't remember where I saw it, and maybe we rented it before I bought it, but, we saw it in the theater, and then somehow I remember watching it, and the Margot Robbie thing, she was in, like, a bikini and underwear when she walks out.
Really?
And so I'm like, I thought she was fully naked. And then I watched it again, but maybe it's just me. But I remember seeing her naked, and then bra and panties, and then naked the next time I watch it. So I was like...
I just saw just tons of naked, and I love her so much. And then just seeing her naked, and it's everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah, because you hadn't seen it for a while, so you were like, oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I hadn't seen... Yeah, I saw that, and I didn't know who she was when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Now I've seen her performance, which, me too. She's a wonderful performer. She's a great actress, and she has so much to add to the roles. In this, she was just a sex symbol.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what a waste of Margot Robbie, but so good.
Well, and she even said that... She said there was they were like, do you want to get naked? And she started thinking, yeah, this is all the girl has going for her is her body and her sex.
Yeah, her body is her currency.
Selling her currency. And so she did that. She said that she cut her back, like on the scene when they're having sex on the money.
Right,
she said her back got all cut up.
It's very funny because DiCaprio is he's not afraid to not look cool.
Yeah.
Or not look sexy.
Yeah.
And every time he fucks in this movie, he's just pounding away as hard as he can.
Yeah,
and you're just like, man, that's it brings you back to being 17 and not knowing what the fuck you're doing.
Well, and I went to a different place too, though, where I was thinking like he's showing, like you have to, okay, let's act like you're coming. You're on a stranger who you don't know that well, Margot Robbie, and now you have to come in front of, this is going to go out to millions of people.
Right.
And you have to do what you know. So you go, this is how I do it.
Right.
And now it's like, how weird is that to be like,
super weird.
Have him breathing in her ear and like,
yeah,
just weird.
Well, and he's just ramming away too, you know. And it's like,
well,
how do you get on top of naked Margot Robbie?
Yeah.
And not be fully erect?
Well, and I liked how that was realistic, where like the first time when they had sex, he's like done right away.
Yeah, 11 seconds.
And he rolls over, and she's like, did you come? And he's like, yeah, did you? She's like, no. He goes, oh, hang on, I'm getting hard again. Hang on, give me a minute. And it was like, it's just one of those where it's like, it wasn't like a big love fest where they rolled around. Like,
yeah. It was over in like 2 seconds. Although I still think that was fake when he like got hard that fast. I've never gotten that hard that fast, no matter how sexy the girl is. I'm like, give me let's have a sandwich and watch a television. Like, let's go watch Family Guy and then we'll come back.
Maybe him making out with her then got him hard again, but he had to be on top of her. But yeah, who knows? But that wasn't the part of the thing. The whole movie was good. Other than that, but Matthew McConaughey was awesome.
Oh, dude, he's so good, and he's so good in everything he's in, but he added so much. Like, if every movie could just have a small Matthew McConaughey cameo.
Yeah. Well, even that thing of pumping his chest where they weren't even going to go with that. That was like the first 2 weeks of shooting.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's doing that just as his little ritual that he does. And Leonardo's like, what the fuck is going on? And Scorsese's like, yeah, let's put that in there. And you like independent films, so you noticed Spike Jonze was in there?
Yeah, I did, yeah, as like the small-time broker guy.
I like when Spike Jonze goes, if you sell $10,000 in stock, I will personally suck your dick. And then he says, I really hope that happens.
Yeah.
And then he looks at it, he like looks at it for a little bit, like
yeah, like I'm serious. Like,
yeah.
I really hope that happens. Like, I'm serious, I'm not joking.
It's like, wow. And just the whole movie's so well written, just like Goodfellas, so good. And the improv stuff, like that, just all works out so great. And I love Jonah Hill in this.
Oh, fuck, Jonah Hill.
Like, just showing up being like, how much do you make? No, show me a thing. Like, you live in my same place, you make that? Wait a minute, I'm going to quit my job right now. And he quits.
I love the fake teeth that he's got. They're so white and square.
Yeah.
But his performance, the voice and everything, Jonah Hill, you see him in those Seth Rogen movies and he's hilarious. But this was like a whole nother level. He's playing a totally different character.
Well, and then able to do like the improv stuff that they did that, and that's why it works. If they read through it and then they do the improv, it just works. And there's that whole scene, we're jumping ahead a bit, but there's a scene up on the roof when he first starts yelling at John Bernthal. And he's like, no, you fucking... And John Bernthal just walks over and fucking cold cocks him and he's out. And then he's like, what the fuck? And then he's pissed at him, and then he's supposed to show up and meet him. And he's just like, oh, yeah, maybe you want to... And he's just giving him shit again.
That for sure had to have been...
Fuck up.
That had to have been improv, because Jonah Hill just goes off for so long. But it's so fucking funny. He's like, I have my wife listening to the answering machine 24 hours a day. And I call and I say, did he call and apologize?
Every 40 minutes I call. Did he call yet? Nope. And then
Barenthal's good too. I had no idea he was in this until I rewatched.
When they're talking about Jonah Hill, he's like after they get to meet him and Jordan, and then he's like, so I heard this rumor, like, are you really married to your cousin? And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, her uncle is my uncle. And he's like, so you're cousins? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, but what if you have any kids? Yeah, we have 2 kids. Are they okay? "Oh, you mean are they retarded? No, they're not retarded." And he goes, "What? But there's a chance, right?" "Yeah, there's like 67% chance." It's like that's a big chance.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What would you do if that? Well, if that happened, I'd drive out to the field and I'd open the door and I'd say, 'Go ahead, go run away,
Go be free.'
go be free." And then Jordan's like looking at him. And he goes, "I'm fucking with you. You take him to like a place where you take people like that." And it's like, oh my god.
He goes, "Yeah, I'm fucking my cousin, but what? Am I going to let somebody else fuck my cousin? No, of course I'm going to fuck my cousin."
I saw these guys growing up that would check her out, and I'm not going to let them fuck her, so I figured I'd do it. And Henry Zabowski, he's great and funny. John Bernthal's badass. And it's hilarious when they're trying to figure out, when they're having the discussion, like, and if you notice, Jordan always just calls them like it or them, and everybody else is like the midgets, the short people, whatever. They're calling them at least kind of by their name. They're treating them human, but he's like, so like I can't have one of the sex workers, like she can't grab his dick or nothing, right? And they're like, "No, well, can we throw him though?" "Well, we could bowl with him." No, that's his cousin. His cousin does bowling. "Oh yeah, his cousin puts a skateboard on him and you just push him down." And they're just talking, "Can we do that? We can do whatever we want, right?"
He goes, "Oh, it says here this guy actually will let you tuck his dick."
yeah. It's like, oh my god. And then when they first see Margot Robbie, and one of them says, "I'd let that girl give me fucking AIDS." I think it was the Asian guy, and you're like, holy shit.
Well, then Jonah Hill comes out and he's just jerking off to her in the whole party, dude, in front of everybody. He doesn't even care.
Yeah, and his wife's
right there. Yeah, she comes and slapping him. He's like, "What?" Oh, so debaucherous, but I fucking love it.
And that's the thing where it's like, I remember seeing this in the theater, and like I said, not only like throwing the midgets, you're like, what the fuck are we in for? Then they're having the discussion about the retards, and you're going, oh my god, they said retard. Like Hangover got in trouble for saying retard. And then you're going, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden you get to the, he's whacking off to this girl. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
But, but maybe now after the Me Too, like now you couldn't put out a movie like that?
I don't think so, yeah.
But, and then Leo Can Fucking Dance is what I wrote when he's at that fucking wedding.
Dude, he tears it up, dude.
And it's like, my wife goes, I didn't know he could do that. I say, yeah, I guess he, hanging out with all his buddies and they're all dancing. And Jordan is so cocky.
Yeah. And
I love the scene when he Joe Dietl goes, "Do not call." But I can call him, right? I just need to. No, don't fucking call him. You don't do that with these people. And then next thing you know is, "Hey, how you doing, Jordan?" And they come up on the boat, and then he's like, "So, we had this girl that I gave a bunch of money to, and it was great. And we did this stock thing, and so maybe, I'm good to help anyone out."
Right.
And you're kind of thinking when you first see it, you're like, this FBI guy might go for it because he wanted to be a stockbroker. And then I love when that turns and that guy's like, he's like, can you say that again exactly how you said it? And the guy moves in a little closer and he's like, nope. He goes, not a bribe. I didn't offer you money for a service. I didn't say an amount. And then all of a sudden Jordan's like, get the fuck off my boat.
I love that.
And then he's like, I'll tell you what though, this boat, I'm gonna be the pride of the FBI when I bring this boat, when we seize this fucking boat. And he's like, get off the fucking boat. And he's throwing the lobsters at him and throwing the money. Oh, so good. And then, like you said, I don't know, maybe it was on our other recording, but the Quaaludes, when he did the Quaalude, like that whole, because they take them all, and then you forget about it. Now you're worried about the call that he has to call Joe Dietl back.
Right.
So he makes it to the phone. He calls him, and he's talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, don't." And he's like, "Well," and all of a sudden he goes, "Joe Dietl goes, what did you say?"
Yeah.
And then he goes, and he goes, "What's wrong with you?" And he's just, and the Quaaludes took effect, and he can't make sense, and he tries to call her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know what you're saying. And he goes, off the phone. And she's like, Donnie's talking to some Swedish guy. And he's like, off the phone. And he's like, and then I found my new face, my cerebral palsy face. Yeah. And he's just laying there. Oh, so good.
Oh, man, he drives the car home.
That whole thing. Yeah, he's like, I made it home without a scratch. I was so lucky. And gets in and yells at Donnie. And then Donnie starts choking. Then you're like, holy shit, is he going to even help him? And he pauses for a second. She's like, do something. And then the way Scorsese does that with the Popeye on the TV,
right?
And doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and then he does the coke, and he's like,
coke,
okay.
and he pops right up, yeah.
And then helps him, and then just that whole thing, and then going out, and the car's all fucked up. The cops are like, "Did you do this?" And they couldn't prove that he was driving, so they have to let him go. And
it's like a fucking tree stuck in the headlights and stuff.
Yeah, it's all fucked up. And then it shows how he really did. Like,
yeah,
it looks smooth, and then it shows how he really went over fucking curbs, and he was the one driving around the guy. It wasn't the other guy. It was so great. And then he just can't stop stealing money. He's like, okay, addiction. I'll make a deal. And then he gives that speech, and you're thinking, okay. And that girl, I don't know about you, I think you're a little sentimental like me. You get choked up when he's explaining that girl's story.
Yeah.
It's not. It might be a real story from the book or whatever, or
right.
it might just be made up for the movie. But you're like, but she starts getting teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And then you start getting teary-eyed, and then all of a sudden Jordan's like, you know what? They want me to leave. I say never quit. Yeah, I'm not gonna quit. Fuck this. I'm staying. And then they all go crazy, and they're like, fuck. And then
Well, that's the thing. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But he cared about his people.
Yeah.
Like, he really did care about his people, because he tears up when he's telling that story, too, about how he gave her... She asked for $10,000, and he gave her $25,000, you know, to get her on her feet and everything. And now she's, like, doing really well. But, of course, she probably went to jail with the fucking rest of them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. If I'm working there... And I'm hearing like, well, they want me to leave, and I'm going to be going, oh shit, our days are numbered. Should I get out now?
Yeah.
Or should I stay for the,
They didn't though, because they were so fucking greedy. Yeah. They couldn't. Yeah. They couldn't even miss one day.
When you're making what he's making, you're just going, okay.
But when's enough? When's enough? You know.
It's like after Steve Madden, when the Steve Madden thing, he comes in, he goes $3 million in 2 hours or something, and he's like, it's like holy shit, like. It's crazy, and then him doing the thing of like buying Steve Madden stock, but not telling, and then telling everybody, to up the stock, and crazy.
We didn't mention Carl Reiner. He's so good in this.
Rob Reiner.
Or Rob Reiner, yeah. I did the same fucking thing on Princess Bride. God damn it.
That's right. Rob Reiner playing his father, and that's what I was going to say also with that, of Rob Reiner is like, just, come on, son, like, what, you want more money? Like, just this is the way to go. And he's like, okay. And then the scene, like that other improv thing of like, the one thing of his dad watching Equalizer and getting really pissed. Fuck, every Tuesday I got it. Hello, how are you? Yes, and speaking like an English guy. And then when he comes in, he's like, oh my God, he's coming in to talk to you about, finances. And then he's like, okay, talk about something, make up something. And he's like, well, remember Pfizer wanted us to, and he's like, yeah, Pfizer. And then all of a sudden he's like, who the fuck is EG Entertainment? And he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, do they cure cancer? I think that's why they cost so much, because they cure cancer. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. So great. And then where it gets serious. Oh, and the other thing, going back to one of the arguments with them, is when she first yells at him because he said like Venice in his sleep, and she wakes him up with water, and then she goes gets more water and throws it on while he's talking. She throws it on him again, and then he goes, don't throw the fucking water on me. And then she's holding it back, and she's talking to him, and then you're going, and then she fucking throws it on him. He's like, motherfucker.
That was one of the scenes where I was like, okay, that was Margot Robbie being awesome, because that took comedic timing. She was good in that scene, and they look like they're having fun. Yeah. But and then DiCaprio though can go from like 0 and just turn it right up to 10. Yeah, and that's what he did in that scene. You know? He's just like, fuck.
Well, and then that's where when it gets to that argument with him and his wife, where he's like, I've been clean. Like she's like, he like starts fooling around. She's like, don't. And then when he's on top of her, when he's in her, she's like, this is the last time. Fuck me like it's the last time. And he's like, what? Why are you saying that? And she's like, just, you want to fuck me? Like, fuck me. And again, you're going, nobody ever talks like this in a regular movie, like, fuck me, like all this stuff, unless you're watching those 50 Shades of Grey movies. and then after he's done, she's like, I want a divorce. And then he's like, what? And she goes, I'm taking the kid. And you feel bad, at least the first time I watch it, you feel bad because he cuts open the couch and gets his hidden coke that he has to snort right there, and you're going, you just threw away 2 years of sobriety to do that because, and so part of you goes, that's your fault for not treating it delicate with taking the kid. But also you go, okay, I kind of get it. But then when he grabs a kid and she comes after him, and he slaps her first in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Then when he's coming out, she's following him. He punches her in the stomach.
That was hardcore, dude. Like she goes down.
Yeah, and then he grabs her, and then she's like, Jordan, no, stop. And then he goes down with the kid, gets in the car, and backs out.
Yeah.
That's an Alante he was driving. That's the car that I told you that I wrecked and that I ran into the back of somebody. But yeah, that's one where you're like, holy shit, and then you don't know where it's going. You don't know is he gonna get in a car wreck and something gonna happen to the kid? Like, my wife was like, oh my god, he's an idiot. Like, she was worried about the daughter.
Yeah. And
then she comes and takes the daughter out, and then and then I love so then he shows up, they say wear a wire, sign this paper. He shows up and he has a napkin there while they're eating sushi, and he shows it, and it's a yellow piece of paper that says, don't incriminate yourself, I'm recording or whatever. And so then Donnie stops talking for a little bit, and then Donnie's like, yeah, okay, well, so what about that thing we talked about? Oh, yeah. And they talk a little bit, and then it just cuts to him at home sleeping, and the maid goes, hey, the FBI, somebody's here to see you, and he walks out, and the FBI's there. And he holds up that plastic bag, and it's that yellow piece of paper.
Why the fuck didn't he throw that away?
Exactly. And he's like, and he shows him that, and he's like, you're under arrest. Can I get dressed? Yeah, we'll help you with that. And it's like, they're not going to let you get all nicely dressed. They're going to be like, put on some sweats and t-shirt. We're leaving.
Well, and one of the thing with Jonah Hill in that scene, that is where he's acting the shit out of that scene, because he plays that all in his face. He looks at the note, he realizes what's happening. Yeah. And he keeps playing along with it, but you can see the disappointment in his eyes. That he's so disappointed in Leonardo DiCaprio that he turned.
After he reads that, he gets sad. We're like, oh, you betrayed me.
Yeah. And he's like, you betrayed all of us, and he plays it all in his eyes.
Yeah.
So fucking good, man.
Yeah. It's real good. Yeah, he's... the whole movie, like I said, it's one of those, just like Goodfellas, where you go, Goodfellas maybe not as much because maybe you saw it when it came out, but this one came out in 2013, and it's like, we should see more, we should watch it more.
Yeah.
But the thing that I can't believe is that he only got 3 years, and something that I read was maybe only like 22 months that he did and got out. And from what I heard on a 60 Minutes episode was that he barely paid any of the, he's got a whole lot of money to pay back.
Yeah.
And he's doing the motivational speaking, but they're like, he's over in Australia doing this thing.
They always get out of that shit. They never have to pay the restitution.
He's making like $40,000 for an event, and he's not paying any back. Like,
that's like what OJ did, motherfucker. He owes the Goldmans all that money.
Yeah.
And he's making shit tons of money, but he's doing it all under the table and under like hedge funds and shit. So he's getting away with pieces of shit.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some facts about this movie are they used crushed up B vitamins as cocaine. That's what the actors were snorting.
Even that'll make you like all wake straight up.
I was thinking B vitamin. If you're doing like that pile that he did at the end in his house, like that's a lot. I do like we're talking about Jonah Hill before that whole scene when he shows up at the house after he'd been busted, and he's like, "So how are things?" He's like, "You want a beer or something? It's non-alcoholic beer." He goes, So I could drink a lot and I get fucked up. He's like, no, it's non-alcoholic. And he goes, so then why do you drink it? And then he goes, what did he say? He goes like, let's go. Like he made a comment, like let's go somewhere where we won't do something, like something like that. And it was like, oh my god, so funny. And Jonah Hill wanted to work with Martin Scorsese so much that he took a pay cut and did it for SAG minimum of $60,000.
That must have fucking pissed him off because Leo made like $25 million.
Yeah, but I think if you're in a Scorsese movie, I don't think you look at that. And I think if you're across from a great actor, that you might go, like you said, him turning it on and off as maybe Margot Robbie, you're going, oh my god, this is big leagues, like.
For her, that started her career.
Right. But for him also, he may be like, oh, he's good for a reason.
Well, did he do that? Did he do Moneyball before or after this? Do you know?
I think before.
Because he was really good in Moneyball. I think he got an Academy Award for supporting actor for Moneyball.
Yeah.
Did he get it for this, though?
No, I don't think so.
That's highway robbery.
And something else that's an interesting, like an acting story, is Ethan Hawke told a story on the Mark Maron podcast about they were talking about Training Day, and they go, "How do you match up with Denzel Washington?"
Right.
And he's like, it was like a football player. I watched game tape. He said, I watched every Denzel Washington movie, saw what he did. He said, and I knew that I had to bring my A game. I have to be way up here to match him. And he goes, and I didn't want to go in like pussyfoot around. He said, I just had to go in full on, like I'm ready. And he said, and it was so much fun. And then he got nominated for that. So, but the word fuck in its numerous conjugations, that's a good word to learn, conjugations. And even though we'll never use it again.
Isn't that when you get to fuck somebody in jail?
I think, yeah. That's when you jack off on a person in jail.
Oh, okay.
Conjaculation.
Yeah.
Are said 569 times, making this the film with the most uses of the word in a mainstream non-documentary film.
Who sits there and counts all the fucks?
Exactly. Somebody who's like, I wonder if this is award-winning, or, Ripley's Believe It or Not, or whatever that was that we used to read. Greatest record holders, like that. Remember
Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah. What the fuck? I was all dyslexic with those words.
Yeah.
It was funny. The other day I was talking on a side note. I was at work and I go, yeah, but I said like the co-owner who writes all the notes, he's fucking dyslexic and he can't. Everything's like misspelled. And the guy I'm talking to was like, no, I'm writing all that. And I go, oh shit, I'm sorry. Well, you're right. He goes, I know. I try to do it right. Like, wow. And you went to college? Although the real Jordan Belfort was supporting of the film and accepting of his negative portrayal, he disputed the film's depiction of the end of his second marriage. Although he admitted to having hit the wife during a fight, he claims that it happened early during the height of his drug addiction, and that their breakup occurred without incident when he was clean and sober. So, but still.
Well, suck a dick. It was better the way they showed it.
You still hate
and you're
wife,
a fucking ass through the whole thing, so.
Yeah. If they show her going, I want a divorce, and you go, okay, like, that's not very exciting.
He's like, I didn't come that fast.
Yeah, exactly. 11 seconds. I didn't write that in my book. And Jonah Hill wanted to eat a real goldfish, but he wanted everything to be real. Everyone was working so hard on the movie that he didn't want to be the person who wasn't. So obviously regulations didn't allow it. They had a real goldfish and 3 goldfish handlers and wranglers on set. Hill could keep the goldfish in his mouth for 3 seconds at a time, and then they had to put it back in water unharmed.
That's just dirty. Goldfish are like the turds of the sea.
Well, if you get them out of clean water, I think
there's no clean water. They shit and piss in their own water.
Is the poor thing like flapping around on your tongue?
Yeah,
while you're
yucky, dude.
Or
yucky.
almost down to your throat. How do you not like accidentally swallow it? Or
well, I've had things in my throat that I never accidentally swallowed.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank you for that because man, that was the best blowjob I ever had.
Hey, I aim to please.
Yeah, well, thanks. And maybe it works better. I'll tell my wife, don't swallow. It works better when the way Jason did it.
Don't thank me, though, because it's gay if you thank me, but it's just what friends do for each other if you don't say anything about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have. Now we're going to be awkward when we look at each other. We won't be able to look at each other's eyes. But anyway, that was my show. Is there anything you want to mention or any?
I just wanted to say that I was talking to the wife about this while we were watching it. That I think Leonardo DiCaprio is like the Brando of our time. Like he's going to be the standout guy. Even if no matter what people said about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like everyone said that Leonardo DiCaprio was awesome.
Yeah.
You couldn't deny that no matter what you thought of the movie.
Well, and there were little things in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where he's like stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a stuttering guy, but then when he acts, he doesn't stutter. Like it was just a really cool little thing that he added to it. Like, really
everything, neat. The Revenant, Shutter Island, everything he's in is just fucking tits.
Shutter Island's so good.
Oh, so
I wanted to do. My cousin has never seen Shutter Island or Inception.
Oh, nice.
So I wanted to show him that, but also I'm thinking of doing a dream episode where it'll be Nightmare on Elm Street and Inception.
Very cool.
And then, so that would be cool. But
what if...
I want to put Shutter Island with something, but I don't want him to know that there's a twist to it.
Right.
I just want him to be surprised like we all were when you're like, oh, shit. There's a Shyamalan Ding Dang twist to it. So.
Yeah.
Which I watched Glass the other day. My wife bought it. She's like, we have the other two? I go, yeah. She goes, I'm going to buy it. It's cheap. I'm like, okay. I go, it was okay.
It was okay.
But I'm like, we do have the other two. Might as well have the third. So it was good. But what's the name? Another one that guy from what's that guy's name? He's in the X-Men movies, and he's in that.
James McAvery.
Yeah, he's fucking.
Yeah.
Him doing all those different characters. Like,
Oh, dude,
so
yeah,
good.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things, like, it's easy to watch and forget that he's doing something amazing.
Yeah.
But for him to keep it all straight in his head and
yeah. Well, and that's where, on another thing about acting, remember when Man on the Moon came out, and it was like, it was really good, and you're like, wow, and then people go, well, he's not nominated, or maybe he was, but he didn't win. They were saying that's just because Jim Carrey does impersonations. And it's like, but you can't look at that. Like, he did him so well. Like, you need to not go...
He did it so well, his mind fucking snapped, and now he's, like, all fucked up.
Exactly. And you saw Jamie Foxx. He's an impersonator like that. He did fucking Ray Charles, like, superb.
Yeah.
Like, so, it's just crazy. But anyway... What else you want me to tell? What else do you want to tell me about? You want to run my show now?
No, I don't do that. I'm a good co-host.
Well, I try to be, but when I'm doing my show by myself a lot of the times because I can't get anybody,
you get excited. We start talking about things, and you get all like, "Oh, wait! Let me tell you about this thing."
What about Batman and Superman? What about dressing up as Space Ghost? I used to always dress. Also, not that it goes, but if you listen to the Batman thing, I used to also be like Battle of the Planets. I used to always want to be those guys.
Dude, I forgot about those guys.
Yeah, they had
the fuck were those guys?
I have one of the figures of Mark, the white one with had the M on his chest, and then it's got like the thing. Anyway, it was way cool.
Yeah, they were like birds or something.
Yeah,
one of them was fat.
Yeah, it was a fat guy. And, he was like the comic relief, and it was like Voltron, but not because they flew in one ship, I think.
Yeah, they didn't have a cool robot, but I do remember those guys, and I had some of those toys too.
Yeah.
Good thing we're talking about that on the Wolf of Wall Street podcast.
Hey, why not? This is just a show about My Celluloid Heart. That's not on celluloid, but it was on TV, and I liked it a lot.
If this was Talking Poop, you could do things like that. That's why I call my show. I get criticized.
Yeah.
But Talking Poop, you can go all over the place.
True.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe I should change. So you're saying I should change the name of my show to Talking Poop Podcast. I'll have it all one
Talking Celluloid Podcast.
Ah, there we go. But then I can't talk TV shows. So it's got to be.
Fuck yeah!
Maybe I'll just do an all Battle of the Planets podcast.
There you go, dude. Yeah, we'll just start that. Just start from episode 1. You can do like Joe and Josh and just do like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, exactly. With my episodes, funny. So I get about 30 listens per show. You get about 150. And
I wish.
And I was talking to one of my guys at work, and he was like, "Oh, I do a podcast." And I go, "Oh, really? What's it on?" He goes, "Soccer." I said, "Oh." I go, "How many listens you get?" He goes, "Like 2 or 3."
Oh,
I go,
man.
"Oh, man." I said, "Well, now I feel better about mine because I get about 30." And so I go, "I'm going to listen to your show. I'll give you a little listen." I listen about 5 minutes. I'm like, I have no idea about soccer players.
Right.
No, I know Pele, and that's all.
Right.
So, yeah. But anyway, okay. That's the thing. See, I don't want to stop. I want to keep talking. I like doing podcasts.
I know.
Okay. All right. Well, stop. I'm sorry. I'm still working on ending. Do you have an ending for me? Like a movie line or something? I'd fuck that girl. I'd let that girl give me fucking AIDS. Something like that.
I haven't been fucked like that since grade school.
Ah, see, now you're bringing a Fight Club. Goes real good with our Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. All right, then.
That's been Talking Wolves.
That's right, yeah. Welcome to my Battle of the Planets Talking Poop Celluloid Heart episode. Thank you for tuning in. Check me out on all the social medias and whatever, and My Celluloid Heart. And check out Talking Poop on talkingpooppodcast.com. Is that right, or is it talkingpoop.com? It's Talking Poop Podcast.
Talkingpooppodcast.com, or, you can find us on Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, all the usual spots.
All right.
But make sure when you're looking for us, don't just go to iTunes and put in Talking Poop, because you're not going to get anything because it's just looking at the music. You have to go to the podcast section, then in that search engine, put Talking Poop Podcast, and we're going to pop right up.
There you go. That's the way to do it. I always go to the podcast, but there are people that don't know iTunes. They're like, I can't find your shit.
Yeah, I have the same problem. So.
And I had a new review that I was going to read. That somebody reviewed me, a guy who does a podcast called anyway, forget it. a guy who does a podcast called Why Daddy Drinks. He's a friend of Jason's here.
My boy Matty.
And he said, a deeper look at. He said, it's easy to listen to and gives you a good reason to take a second or even first look at all kinds of movies. Keep up the good work. So that's from Matt over there at Why Papa Drinks? Why Daddy Drinks?
Papa, why do you drink?
Yeah. There you go. That'll be our offshoot podcast. It'll be talking all about Why Daddy Drinks. Okay, everybody. Sorry this went so long. It didn't really, but okay. Thank you. Have a good
You're
day.
welcome this went so long.
As I know, right? Anyway, I was going to... Truman Show says, good evening, good morning, good evening, and good night. So there you go.
That's amazing.